Our first guest tonight is the best-selling author and Emmy-winning host of All In with Chris Hayes, which airs weeknights at 8 p.m. on MSNBC. Please welcome back to the show our friend Chris Hayes, everybody.
Hi.
Well, you've done a show without an audience.
I don't.
But you don't walk out. Yeah, you don't do a long walk out.
Over here.
Hi, buddy.
How we doing?
Well, I want to ask how you're doing. You did the 12 to 2 shift last night.
Yes, I'm doing the 12 to 2 shift again tonight, and then maybe.
Not a lot happened between 12 to 2 last night.
I'm insulted you would say that.
No, it was nice. It was nice to have you providing perspective on it, but I think for people, the night before, it seemed like a lot happened between 12 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very funny to look in. I really love the fact that these places, I think it's a great blow for transparency, all these places that are counting the ballots, they have live streams, and we've had reporters in there, and at a certain level, all of us are like, come on, hurry up, and you look at them, and they're like,
yeah,
doing it. It just, it is what it is. They got a lot to process, and in these states that aren't used to this, Pennsylvania, Nevada being two examples where they don't have a lot of mail-in ballots, it's just going to take a little while.
It does seem like they have been out in front, secretaries of state, right?
Yeah.
It's like attorneys general, yeah. And election officials. Where do you think we are right now? I mean, so I should clarify, it's right before 5. You're going to be on TV a little bit later. Do you think much will change between now and when you're on?
Yes, because Pennsylvania election officials said they might have the count done today, which would be dispositive, basically. I mean, given the current margins in the outstanding ballots, the rate at which they're coming in, were Pennsylvania to count today, I think it looks like, we don't know definitively, that Biden would pull ahead, perhaps by a margin along the Michigan level margin, 100,000 votes or plus, which is sizable, and that would then be 270 of sort of states that we can feel, pretty rock solid about.
A lot of people have made this observation on Twitter, smarter people than me who talk about elections. And we actually alluded to it before the election about what happened in 2018, which is the first sort of post-op, which was sort of happening, I guess, in real time, was there's no blue wave.
Yep.
Just like everybody's saying, this is very bad. And that if they had counted the votes in an opposite order, the narrative would have been very different on Tuesday night.
Oh, that's absolutely true. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, particularly with Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, because, and this was engineered by Donald Trump and Republicans in those states to prevent them from what's doing pre-canvassing, which is like counting ahead of time these mail-in ballots. Had they done that first, it would have been, I think by election night, we would have probably known that those states were going to go to Biden. And if we knew on election night that the 3 Midwestern states had flipped, giving the 270 necessary, then it would have been a very different kind of, and I feel more definitive probably narrative about what happened. This, post-election narratives are always dangerous things for a bunch of reasons. One is incomplete data, sometimes bad data, people benchmarking against polling expectations even though the polls were wrong. So the thing there isn't that, oh, well, what did this candidate do wrong in that race? It's, no, the pollster was wrong.
Right.
That it was a close race. It never was. The candidate didn't do anything wrong. They were just not going to win that race.
Right. You're saying that people are watching saying, how could they blow a 10-point polling lead?
Yeah.
There's no, it's not like a
There was never a 10-point polling lead.
Right. There was never a 10-point voting lead. There was a polling projection, which was very different.
Yes. I think we now have enough to know that, there is something systemically bad and wrong with particularly state and district level polling. And so it gives everyone this sense of like, whoa, what happened? But if the measurement was wrong all along, if the measurement had been saying all along, Teresa Greenfield's going to lose by 8 points in Iowa to Joni Ernst, when she lost by 8 points, you say, that was kind of a +8 Republican state.
Right.
Looks about what I would think.
Yeah, and in the year leading up to it, I don't think people would have been shocked, like, can you believe Joni Ernst is up 8 points?
No.
Like, it would have been made total sense.
Now, the places where there's real damage is in the House districts, and I think there's probably some winnable House districts that were lost, partly because I think, we'll figure this out, what the national environment was. But one big thing you saw was, Republican turnout was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane on both sides. It's been a catechism for my life in politics, I think particularly in certain circles on the sort of liberal and left, that high turnout elections are how Democrats can win. But, there's lots of people who don't vote who are also conservatives.
Right.
And what ends up happening often is that if one side motivates and turns out it's people, the other side does it as well.
Right, because one thing that will happen is Donald Trump will end up with far more votes than he had 4 years ago.
Yes, numerically more votes.
Right.
It's going to be so interesting to see what that final popular vote percentage margin is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that's so weird about about this in the Electoral College is we watch the maps, and then we watch the states, and then we do the paths, and we press the buttons, and we get the math. In all the other races we're watching, state races, House races, someone's winning by 3 or 4 points. It's like, oh, it looks like they're going to win that race.
Yeah.
And that's kind of is what it is. It was a close but decisive victory, 4 points. Joe Biden's probably going to win by that.
Right.
4 points, maybe 5. He may win a bigger margin than Barack Obama's reelection in 2012 over Mitt Romney. I mean, that's pretty striking. The difference being that Barack Obama's 2012 victory over Mitt Romney was more geographically balanced, and so it got called that night, and it was across a bunch of states where he had a very clear electoral advantage. But in terms of total votes cast and the total margin, Biden might actually beat that spread.
I want to come back and talk to you about perception and optics of an election like this. We'll be right back with more from Chris Hayes.